Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Welcome to Cornhusker Corner with Blake.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I'm Brooks.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
And you better bet your bottom dollar that these two brothers know how to handle business.
Here is a hand up to Thunder, who gives it back to Mike Stokes. He's going to throw it. He's got a man out to the 40. It is Eric Crouch. 15, 10, 5.
All right, welcome to Cornhusker Corner, where there's no place like this podcast. As always, your host Blake, brother Brooks. Huskers get their first win of the season against UTEP, 40-7. This is our instant reaction. Game ended like 5 minutes ago, so we just wanted to hop on, give some of our instant reactions to some of the stuff that we've seen. Kind of discuss, different perspectives. Both of us watched games completely differently. And so, we're going to go from there. It's the first time we've been live in a while. And so, we're going to probably do this for, after some of our games, at least most of them. Definitely.
If we're good enough where it gets mundane, then we might not. But we've been doing them all because we're 5-7.
definitely the first one of the season.
No doubt.
If you're new,
and it was awesome.
if you're new to the channel, like this video, please subscribe to the channel. We also have an audio version of a weekly podcast that we do. That is on anywhere audio goes. We do a video on YouTube as well. Kind of they're posted at the same time. So if you want to see us, you can see us, and if you don't, you don't. Or you can tell us to go F off and not listen to us at all, as long as you subscribe and listen. We don't really care. So, but first win of the season. Let's go into we usually do this a couple different ways: positives, negatives, one final thought. So let's go into negatives first, because I feel like there's less of them. So let's go to negatives.
The negatives, that a really good back with really, really good downhill ability that I don't know if we've seen quite that extra that he showed, that he fumbled, and he showed himself to be a really good back, and then he fumbled, which we cannot tolerate. And my coach knows we can't tolerate.
Didn't touch the ball the rest of the game.
Yeah, didn't touch the ball the rest of the game. Right.
With Dowdell.
Dowdell.
You're talking about.
Dowdell. Dowdell had a gear where he was just going downhill and accelerating into contact. And don't get me wrong, all the backs looked good and I think we'll get to that because the line looked good, but Dowdell looked really, really good out there. I think we could both agree on that. And then he fumbled, which was just unfortunate because it looked like for a little bit there, I was like, oh, there it goes. Hot hand. They said they were going to ride the hot hand, and here we go. And then he fumbled. So I was like, okay.
We'll get into some of the positives there with our running backs. But the one turnover, definitely negative. I would say some of the penalties.
The turnover that led to 9 points, by the way.
Yeah, turnover that led to 9 points.
Yes.
You could even say that might be a positive.
So funny.
40 chest underwater.
Yes.
But no, you could point there. But I think a negative is definitely the penalties. We started the game with a penalty. We got a couple penalties on our first drive. We were able to overcompensate for them, get a score. We might not always be able to. We won't always be able to do that when our level of competition goes up. Not to knock UTEP at all. I think their coach is a rock star. I think he's going to get them to a level that is really great for UTEP. He definitely high energy. He just reminds me a lot of, oh gosh, what's his name?
Scott Frost.
Scott Frost. No, he reminds me a lot of a young. God damn, what is his name?
The guy from the Cowboys?
The guy from the Cowboys.
The guy who got fired like 3 or 4 years ago from the Cowboys? Justin something?
Oh, the coach?
Yeah, the coach.
No. Not him. Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Even the style of offense that he kind of wants to run really fast and everything. And you saw the one drive when they were able to do exactly what they wanted to do. It worked. There were some guys out of position. I don't think our defense was really ready for that. They were like, "Oh, crap." Once they were able to like kind of find that out, they were able to figure it out. But definitely a negative is the penalties, the turnover.
The one Hartzog, I mean, and he was covering him, but he was a step behind him, and that ended up being the difference in the play.
Yeah.
So that one play is the big black mark. And you'll hear people say stuff like, "Oh, well, it was just one play." And the argument you laid out right there is true. Like there was some plays, that was the big play, but there was not just one play. Like there was a couple of drives even that they were doing pretty decent.
Yeah,
I'd say two drives that they had that was like good drives.
But as far as like big blatant negatives, I think that is all I can come up with, at least off the top of my head.
The ball out of bounds one time that is included in the penalties discussion. I mean, but besides that, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's cleanest football I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. All right. Let's go into some positives because this is going to take a little bit more time. Let's go into. We first touched on the running backs, with Dowdell and the negatives, but he's really a positive too because he just really had the one negative play. The play he fumbled on was a good run.
Oh,
finish.
It's a four-headed monster.
And that is what the coaching staff is trying to establish, right? Yeah. It's not just going hard; it's finishing, chasing three, right? That's the whole big thing in the offseason. So that is what the little details, covering up with two hands when you're going into contact. If he would have done that, and then they would have made a good play, stripped the ball, he might have gone back in, but he had one hand on the ball, right? The guy did still make a good play on the ball. They hit him right where they were supposed to. It wasn't like an easy fumble, but still there were things you could do as a runner to kind of counteract that. And he didn't see the field, at least as far as I'm aware, the rest of the day. So there's accountability there, and you can do that with a stable. I mentioned this in our preview, a stable of running backs. All of them showed just burst. Emmett Johnson had a really great run. Gabe had 2 touchdowns as a result of that.
Dude,
basically,
for real.
Because I mean that dude's just a bulldozer. And then Ramir had showed some pretty good vision and some shiftiness on some runs too. So again, I think level of competition, but I think that that position group is definitely a positive coming out of today.
No doubt about it. I mean, they all showed flashes, like you just said. But I just think that like I said on the negatives thing, man, like those first couple drives when Dowdell was getting fed, man, that extra gear that he showed going into contact was like, okay, yeah, like Gabe's shown that a couple times for sure.
Yes,
no doubt about it. Both Johnsons, I would say, are different types of runners. They're crazy on the sticks.
I would say,
you know what I mean? Like
the Z Johnsons
are
a little bit more of the shifties
because they're different players. I mean, Ramir had one run that I texted you, like he's crazy on the sticks, where it was like he kind of squirted out of the main bunch, and then there was a guy right there to tackle him, and then he just like immediately juked, and it was just like all these in very tight spaces moves that he was making that were so nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna just look up the box score real quick, just looking at the rushes for us. So rushing, we
share it if you want to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Let me do that. We're live anyway.
See,
share screen, right?
Yep.
Share screen.
The present thing. Yep.
Add tab audio.
Make sure you have everything else shut down.
Okay. Yes. Dylan Raiola. No, wait. The rushing. That's what we're looking at. So 47 carries for 223 yards, 4.7 yards per carry as a team is really good. And then if you look at our top guys, Emmett, really yards per carry is really what you want to look at from what I understand with what I've heard with coaches. So Emmett, 8.9, elite. Dante, 6.9, really good. Ramir and Gabe, 4.5 and 4.
Those are still good.
Solid numbers. Solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's on the rushing aspect.
The rushing aspect.
What other positives can you think of? And I'll pull back up the stats as we need them.
A positive that I can look at. I mean, let's just say positive out loud.
Yes.
Raiola played pretty well. pretty well, I would say.
I would say so.
Yeah, let's pull up his stats.
Yeah, let's pull back up the stats.
Let's pull back up the stats. No, I think he did, a great job. First start, 19 of 28, 238 yards, average for 8.5 yards per pass.
And then just look at the receiving,
2 touchdowns,
the amount of
look at the
distribution.
receiving. Jamal Banks had 61 yards. Nair led the way with 121. They both had a touchdown.
Awesome. Nair looked awesome. Both of them looked awesome.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Everybody looked awesome.
Honestly, yeah. You can look at the stable of wide receivers that he was throwing to. That, I mean, they just look more confident than they have in a really long time. And again, level of competition, and I'm not trying to beat like UTEP down. Because again, I don't think they're a terrible team. I just think we are just more talented, and I don't think anybody is going to really find me on that. You just look at the receivers, how they're moving around the field, finding open spaces. How Dylan really never played rushed. He never looked rushed for a true
even when he was rushed.
Even when he was rushed, he didn't look rushed. Definitely not there. There were some true freshman moments. There's going to be a lot of rose-colored glasses this week. And if he throws some of the passes that he threw this week against Colorado, he'll throw probably 3 interceptions. I'll just say that. Because he threw into triple coverage 3 separate times.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
Because he trusts his guys, but he threw into triple coverage.
I agree. But here's another positive I'll say is the game plan, the way it looked, the game plan. So I was one worry I sort of had in the back of my mind going into it was like there was going to be a lot of reliance on Raiola. If this was the 2018 team with Scott Frost going in with the weapons we had, there probably would have been I was worried there was going to be a lot of reliance on Raiola. We wouldn't be able to establish the rush, and it would be a little bit of a Wile E. Coyote pass game, throw it up, hope our receivers can make plays, and maybe they're good enough to, but so that's what I was worried about. And it looked like an NFL offense. It did.
Oh yeah.
The way it was ran was very, I mean, it was like, I was like, oh, this is awesome. We're establishing the run first.
And listen, whenever it goes back to what Rule said on Monday, right? Are you going to ease him into the game? No, we're not going to ease him in. Why would he do that? You look at him, he had complete control of the offense, right? He was able to audible when he wanted. They trust him to see, okay, I'm seeing this. I'm going to do this. That long run that Emmett did, he audibled 3 separate times in that one play to be like, okay, they're out of position. He's going to be able to hit that hole. So stuff like that. And it wasn't just that one. He was able to audible a lot, right? Which for a true freshman quarterback, usually they don't have the ability.
Well, he had him switch, right? He said, move over here. And then he saw what they did. And then he moved him back over. And then he said, okay.
Yep.
I mean, it's like stuff you do in Madden and stuff you do in CFP 25. But anyway, go ahead.
And so that was just really good to see. I mean, you talk about game plan, but you also talk about execution. I'm sure we had plenty of great game plans last year that just weren't executed very well.
No doubt about it.
You didn't have the personnel in place. We looked deep. We looked more than competent. We looked. I'm not gonna say elite because we were playing UTEP. We looked good.
Yes.
Right. We looked good for the first time in a really long time. We had for the first time since 2019, we had a home our season opener at home, which baffles the mind that it went that long.
Yeah.
Right.
And let me tell you, UTEP looked fine. Let me just say that.
Yes.
They looked fine. They didn't look bad.
Yeah.
They didn't look like they were going to be an amazing team, but they looked fine.
Yeah.
And they had some athletes, especially on defense. They might be a decent team. I mean, look, these throws that Raiola made, they were great throws, but they were contested catches.
Yeah.
That's one of the other encouraging thing is our receiver room, man. It's just like these dudes are going up, they're catching the ball, and it's contested 2 or 3 guys on
Nair and Banks were they both
the
had
real deal.
They're both their touchdown catches. Nair's was definitely more splashy because he caught it and then picked himself up from a stumble. excuse me, and then was able to like go through.
Yeah.
So that was, I mean, that was bonkers. But then Banks is one too. Rayola threw a perfect ball. Only he could do that, like not do that, but only he could throw.
He is the one.
He is the one. Mashal Galib. No, but he threw it where only his guy could catch it, and that's oversaid, but you can't really see it on plays sometimes. But if he throws that even a slightest bit inside, it's probably intercepted. He threw it in a perfect spot. Banks high pointed the ball, and that was just great.
Yeah,
It was
no
great
doubt
to
about
see.
it. With the perfect trajectory, dude. That's the thing about it.
Yeah.
It's like you got to have the right trajectory too, to just kind of like mortar shell drop it in there,
Yeah.
right at the right
And
spot.
see, I would like to see him actually step into a throw sometimes. Sometimes he's a little lackadaisical with it. This could actually be a negative to Dylan Raiola. All right. Sometimes he doesn't step into it and he throws a little bit of a touch pass when maybe he should drive it in there. Right.
Right.
And another thing, I'm going to go back away. Another thing that they teach you when you're like all quarterback drills, right? Whenever you're throwing it, you know what an extra move is? An extra move is what Tim Tebow did really bad. He dropped his elbow before he threw it. He could get it where it was, but it's another motion before you're trying to throw. Another
like
one
a
they
tell,
teach,
like a jab, like if you're a boxer, like a tell before a jab, like
guess.
Similar thing. Yeah, no, totally. I can see it.
Yeah, it's just all about getting it where it needs to go, right?
Yeah.
No wasted motion.
But also
right?
you're alerting the defense like a split second
Yeah.
before
But see, that's what
that you're about to throw. You know
but
what
that's
I mean?
what
Like
Tebow did, right?
Yeah. No,
what
totally.
Raiola does, taps the ball.
Yep.
Harburg does too. Terrible. But it's one of those things that like you look at NFL quarterbacks, just watch them next week. Okay. Most of them don't do that. It's one thing that you need to kind of take out of your game. And it's one of the things I can nitpick. I can nitpick because
it's like a tell.
It's a split second. He's going to throw it. Don't tap it and then throw it. There's no reason.
But that little tap tells the defensive line to put their hands up. It tells, it tells the DBs that the ball's coming. Like I said, it's like a little tell before a jab, versus the best boxers, the jab just is all of a sudden in your face before you even realize it,
Yeah, but that's the one negative I could probably say about him. But again, it's all positive. Line play, both sides of the ball.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, great.
Kicking game was good. A return game was good.
Yeah. Bushini had a good punt, and then we had
Barney
one made
like
field
he
goal.
was pretty good returner.
Who did? I'm sorry, I was talking over you. Barney, Ja'Cory Barney. Yeah, he was electric for sure.
Yeah. He had a jet sweep, like kind of like a touch pass. I think it was. And
punt return game, I'd say, looked solid too with IGC back there. Solid, like a solid step up from where we were, which was just like sending AB or somebody else reliable out there to just field it. And then just like hoping, versus IGC is like he's shifty, he's reliable though. You could tell there was a couple times like he was running into it and it was a nice catch.
Coming back from a knee injury as well.
Yeah,
he showed a bit of quickness, which is good to see, right?
For sure.
Again, depth.
Yeah,
something that we saw today was good depth.
No doubt. I mean,
2s and 3s got to play, but let's go into one more positive, and then we can go into one final thought.
Well. I don't have any more positives, honestly. I can reserve the thing I was going to say for final thoughts.
Okay, go ahead.
Rob Zadiska, Dr. Rob Zadiska had a tweet right after the game, which I think it was maybe right before the game was going to end, and it doesn't matter. He said the good litmus test for a program is when your 2s and 3s are getting in the game before the start of the fourth quarter, like at the end of the third quarter, and that's exactly what happened. So right then and there, it's like there was like, I think also Mitch Sherman had a tweet that said there's like a production level that they're at right now that's like almost boring.
Yeah.
And that's what you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To where there's a couple of fun plays here and there, but for the most part, like just the way the team operates is just boringly good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's exactly like sort of what I mean. I didn't feel it because look, I tweeted something out like it's like we've been stranded at sea for 7 years with no land in sight, and then all of a sudden we just drifted into a penthouse mansion with like unlimited lobster and steak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's how
Yeah.
it feels. So for me, it's hard to stay objective, but man, I couldn't see us looking any better than we just looked, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. I mean,
Yeah.
it was so positive, man. So next
Yeah.
week's going to be fun.
And
I'll just say that.
Next week's going to be interesting to see how we stack up against a more talented team.
Yeah.
All right. So my one final thought, and I've given a lot of thought to this in the 10 minutes since the game ended.
Yes.
But I really want to commend Rule just in general. This is my final thought. At the end of the first quarter, 7-7, your defense that's been vaunted all season got just pile drived right down the field, right?
Yeah.
They looked out of place, out of sorts, and like, okay.
On the second drive of the game for the other offense,
for the
I would
other
call it
offense.
like the settle-in drive, right? Everybody's sort of starting to settle in. Let's see what happens, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
So you do that, and then your offense goes 3 and out, and then your defense gets the ball back. Well, your offense gets the ball back after a defensive stop after that score, but it's 7-7 after the first quarter, and then you drive down the field, and then you have the fumble. That whole sequence, what just happened, could kind of encapsulate what Nebraska football has been the past couple of years, right? But you look at what happened, right? They bounced back and they went off whatever that math is, 33 unanswered points.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And that's how you answer. And that is really impressive because that is culture change. That's a culture change, because if you get punched in the mouth the past couple of years, you know what happens. They fold, they don't come back. It gets a little close. They probably still win against UTEP, but it's close. It's a close game. That's not what happened. They just kind of took a deep breath and went, all right, let's go.
Yep.
That's culture change. And that is my one final thought from what I saw today. And it will be very interesting to see how next week goes.
Yep. Kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. we can all sing, dance, and hold each other's hands for about the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the rule. And that's fun. It's fun. Winning's fun. This is great.
Yeah.
But next week's a week. We got a game. We got a game ahead of us.
We got a real game.
Next game's going to be really interesting, legitimately.
And I'll say this to Greg on our episode this week. Greg, our Colorado fan coming back.
Yes.
But Colorado played a harder team. No disrespect UTEP at all, but Colorado played a harder team. Really hard to kind of judge.
I talked to Greg about this earlier today, so I sort of have to back up what I said to him, which was that NDSU is an FCS team with 63 scholarships. Okay. At the end of the day, UTEP is an FBS team at the Conference USA level. So I believe personally that UTEP, probably the conglomeration of talent that's on UTEP's roster, probably is better than NDSU. But the organizational stuff that they got going on and the culture that they got going on at NDSU, it's not even comparison. First year coach at UTEP. It's just a completely different situation. So
and again, it's hard to tell. We won't know until next week when we play Colorado. You'll be there. We'll talk about that more on our episode. But no, for now, good win, 1-0 for the first time since 2019. Let's keep the momentum going so we can get our win streak music back on the podcast here. So anything else?
No, that'll be it.
That'll be it. All right.
Yes.
Always remember that there's no place like
this podcast.